I don't know where I don't know where in the world you are, but I am in Leamington Spa at the moment. Just had some sessions with the GSA Girls School Association, so it's really great to see you all. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to talk to you about the weird and wonderful world of AI in education. So let me just do this. There we go. And let me just share like. Okay, hopefully you should be able to see my screen. So I've subtitled this Wednesday Wisdom Web. It's really hard to say. The 3 layers of AI. So I'm going to focus on how you can start to use AI now to basically save you time to really kind of drill down into data. But the main thing I'm going to focus on, I'm going to give you some live examples, which is always a bit risky. Some live examples of how you can use AI to really kind of move learning on in some quite interesting ways without what I'm calling stealing the struggle. So in other words, without AI doing all the work for students, because one of the areas that I think some people are quite nervous about right now is that AI suddenly just does all of students' essays for them, does their planning for them, and they don't have to think, and so on and so forth. So that's going to be my main focus. I'm going to kind of speak maybe 45 minutes, no more than that. I think that's, Alicia, that's about right, is it? I don't want to go over that. That's roughly
that's perfect, and we are recording it, so people need to dash off. They can
that's fine.
up.
And I won't, if people need to leave, I'll never ever take things personally. So look, we've had we've had it for kind of a year and a half now, roughly. And I would say that on average, when I'm speaking to schools across the world, they're all kind of saying the same thing. So what I'm going to show you now, you're probably thinking, yeah, that's me, yeah, that's me, yeah, that's me. So one thing is we're all kind of worried that AI is going to just remove work generally, that, you know, we're going to not have jobs anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something that I think some people are worried about. I'm less worried about it, to be honest with you. I think there's always going to be the right work for the right people, but there is certainly, we're seeing already some jobs being lost to AI. Now, I'm not going to comment either positively or negatively on that. I just think it's a thing that's happening right now, but it's certainly something that's in many people's minds, that we have this nervousness around just redefinition of work, what it means to work, what it means to add value in the world. And it's really fascinating, some of the theory and ideas that are going on around that right now. We worry about, as I just said a moment ago, essentially AI doing the work for us. So plagiarism is the big one, you know, ChatGPT writing essays for students, so on and so forth. That's definitely something that when I'm speaking to schools and groups of schools, when I ask people to put their hands up, often as much as 70 or 80% of head teachers and school teachers are saying, you know, I've had experience of my students trying to get away with essays that they didn't actually write themselves. As a result, there's this general fear, this general perception amongst some individuals, some people, some quarters, that it's just going to make us stupid, that AI is actually going to make us a bit dumb. And I think that's something that, you know, maybe we need to be mindful of. But it's actually, when I show you some ideas at the end of this presentation, this webinar, I'm hoping you'll see that actually the opposite can happen if we get that right. And then the last one, this image is kind of random and a bit strange. And I didn't create this image. This is an AI image, but I didn't create this AI image. It just made me laugh when I saw it. The notion that teachers will be replaced by AI, okay? That we're actually going to have a world where students will have their own personal chatbot and they won't need teachers. And, you know, that actually suddenly teachers will find themselves out of a job. I fundamentally disagree with this assertion. And I'll tell you why. People need people. I think the teacher's role will be redefined, and I think that's a good thing. But I do not believe that teachers are going to be replaced. I actually think, when I show you some of the ideas at the end of this presentation, which are brand new, by the way, they've not been shown before today, first time. I think you'll think, wow, that's kind of cool, and I can't wait to get trying that with my students. I really think AI teaching could become a whole lot more fun if we use AI properly. And then the last big one, and our friend Clippy, the paperclip, that some of you Gen Xers might recognize. Anyone who's younger than probably about the age of 40 will think, what's that? Clippy, Microsoft's like paperclip AI. It wasn't AI at all, but it was kind of tagged as paperclip. the reason I'm showing this here is that the big fear that many people have is that AI just becomes so clever and so advanced that actually it realizes that it no longer needs us in this drive towards the ultimate paperclip. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google the AI paperclip dilemma, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to ask Zoe if you wouldn't mind turning your camera off just for now. It's just that I'm seeing a lot of camera movement and it's a little bit distracting. So you've stopped moving. That's brilliant. Thanks. Okay, let's move on. So you may know who this is. Again, Gen Xers, you will definitely know who this is. Those of younger in the audience, in the people watching, will think, who's this geeky dude? So this geeky dude is a guy called Sir Clive Sinclair. He introduced the ZX Spectrum to the world in the early 80s, 81, 82. And it was really the first time that we had kind of a gaming, very kind of consumer-focused computer coming into our homes. So it was early 80s, loads of kids my age. I was born in 1970, so I know it doesn't look it. I was born in 1970. And so I was 12 when this came out. I didn't have one. Probably a lot of my neuroses and my psychoses come from the fact I didn't have one of these computers, but my neighbor did, and I used to go and play with his. The reason I'm showing you this, okay, is this is the first time that we had home computing kind of, I suppose, democratized in people's homes. And we're at the same position now with AI, okay? Because even though the ZX Spectrum was introduced and it was very popular, it actually wasn't very good compared to the computers we have now. And we're kind of at that place with AI at the moment. We're kind of in the ZX Spectrum phase of generative AI. ChatGPT's been with us about a year and a half, and it does some things well, but it does lots of things badly. That will not be the case for long. So when I see people say, oh, I've tried ChatGPT a couple of times and it's not very good, and, you know, dismiss it, such a big mistake, because we are going to see things happening. And we've literally just this week, crazy, just today, Figure, who are a robotics company, you may have seen this on LinkedIn, have just partnered with OpenAI, and within just a few weeks, literally just a few weeks, they've created a robot which has the new version of ChatGPT, which is going to be released quite soon inside it. Oh my goodness me, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And that's just happened today. So anyone who says, I've tried the free version of ChatGPT, it's not very good. Well, no, it isn't actually very good, but it is going to get very, very good very fast. So the fact you're listening to me now suggests that you kind of recognize that maybe it's something we should be taking pretty seriously. And when we look at the change in the development of AI in just 2 years, so this is a mid-journey image that I created 2 years ago. I'm one of those really annoying people who says, yeah, I was using AI before it was famous. Like people used to say, I knew this band before they were famous. I was using AI before ChatGPT. This was a couple of years ago, mid-journey. And the prompt was very simple. A photograph of a doctor and 2 nurses. It kind of looks like something from some surreal horror movie. Goodness knows what's going on with the middle doctor, because it looks like he's got a pole rather than legs. But that was the image that was created 2 years ago. This is the image, the same prompt now, 2 years later. Okay, these people don't exist. That man does not exist. Those women do not exist. Try and leave aside the blatantly obvious bias. Not only are the 2 women behind the man, but they're even blurred, as if it's like, oh, they're really not important. Okay, I'm not commenting on that. That's a blatant obvious bias. I'm only focusing on the quality of the image. That man does not exist. Okay, those people do not exist. That's an AI generated image. You would not know that other than the obvious tell of the rather random stethoscope that looks like it's a heart-to-heart stethoscope. You wouldn't actually know that that was an AI generated image. That's just how 2 years. Keep projecting forward. You can see just what we have well, we can't see what's in store for us, but we can certainly see the flight path is going up and up and up. So we have to take this seriously. We have a moral obligation as educators to take this seriously. I fundamentally believe that. And then you look at an image like this, and at first glance, you see this image and you go, okay, it's an image of London. Look again, look carefully. Anyone who knows London will start thinking, hang on a minute, St Paul's Cathedral, Houses of Parliament, the Shard and the Gherkin are not all in the same part of London. Okay, we even got half of the Houses of Parliament just St Stephen's Tower. Okay, I created this image. It took me 20 seconds from end to end, maybe 30 seconds. I just prompted a picture postcard image, photograph of London, showing that St Paul's Cathedral, the Houses of Parliament, and the Shard all in the same image. And it threw the Gherkin in just for good measure. Just clearly kind of got a bit like, oh, I'm enjoying this, kind of making stuff up. First glance, you think it just looks like a normal image. Actually, when you look closer, you can see it's AI generated. The reason I'm showing you this, not to show you off my prowess with Midjourney, not at all. I'm an English teacher. I have no idea about coding, got no idea about any of this, but I was able to produce this in 30 seconds, okay? You go onto TikTok, you can work out within 5 minutes how to do a deep fake video. It's so simple. I did a LinkedIn post probably 6 months ago now, where I showed people how easy it was to download some software to create deep fake videos, okay? If I can do it, guess who is also doing it? Your students. Your students are doing it. We're seeing this time and again. We're seeing young people who are learning. They're sharing ideas on TikTok, on Instagram. They're sharing ideas through whatever forum they're using, and they're using this for fun, but they're also potentially using it for damage as well. So the potential for deep fakes is very, very real. If I can do it, quite frankly, anyone can do it, because I'm really not a techie person in that way. Okay, as an English teacher, I understand words, but I don't understand the technology. 3 things I want to just quickly focus on. I'm going to go on to do some fun stuff in a moment. I just want to focus on 3 things that I think we need to be mindful of as we're moving into the future. These are the big ticket items, in my opinion, and these are the things that educators need to be focusing on. The first one, I firmly believe we're going to be moving towards an era of hyper-personalized learning. We're going to have, the more advanced these AIs get, okay, the more they are able to take on masses and masses of data about the students that we teach. And I'm not just talking about attainment data, you know, doing essays and tests and stuff. I'm talking about when they learn best. I'm talking about their engagement. You know, these things have cameras in them. And we already have computer vision. And vision data is just another form of data. It's an unstructured form of data. We're already seeing AIs able to read that unstructured data and actually form opinions and assumptions and planning as a result. So we're going to see AIs that know every single thing about the students that we teach. Okay. Now, again, I am not sitting here saying whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I can see some advantage, but I can also see some potential disadvantages, but it is coming around the corner. We're already starting to see it. AI is not quite there yet, hasn't quite got big enough memory. But when it does, then we're going to start seeing some really interesting things around hyper-personalized learning. We're also going to see, following on from that, the idea of the AI mentor, the lifelong mentor, the lifelong study buddy, you know, that the AI will learn everything there is to know about that student, potentially all the way through their life, right the way from literally cradle to grave. We will have AIs that actually work alongside us, that partner with us, that support us, that help us learn, help us choose the path, academic pathways, vocational pathways. These things are going to happen. And then on the back of that, we're going to start seeing more and more this notion of the cyborg. And I do not mean necessarily having implants in your brain. This is not some sci-fi stuff. You know, we're not going to be Neuralink implanted. Okay, there are so many ethical considerations, which I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole now. I don't have time. But we are definitely going to see the idea of the cyborg more and more. We are kind of already there, to be honest with you. You know, anyone who tells me that they can leave home and forget their phone and not feel like there's something wrong, there's something missing, I mean, quite frankly, probably lying to me or yourself. Okay, we are all pretty well wedded to these things, you know, these devices around us. You know, there's even a theory around it called the extended mind, that actually our minds don't remain within the four walls of our skull. Our minds spill out into the devices around us because we record our learning, we record our knowledge, our notes, etc. You know, we have a filing system on our laptop. It's all a part of our mind which extends outside of the four walls of our head. So we're kind of already there. but we're going to see that merging, that between the human and the machine. And we can very much see AI kind of sits at the intersection. It sits at the intersection between human and machine. So we're seeing that more and more as we go on. And then what does all of this mean for us as educators? Okay, if every student has this minutely differentiated learning experience, okay, if every student has their own AI buddy, what does it mean? What does it mean for pedagogy? What does it mean for the teacher standing at the front, the stand and deliver? Will we finally get an inversion where it's no longer the teacher at the front, but it's the student surrounded by support, whether it be AI, whether it be the teacher, whoever, they're surrounded by a support network rather than the teacher at the front delivering? What does it do to the curriculum, to the siloed subjects, which are so unrelated to the real world? And it's so unrelated to the real world and actually so, in many ways, not fit for purpose. And then what does it do for the notion of spaces for learning? We know how important space is. We've known for so long, this notion of the third teacher, Emilio Reggio's third teacher. We know this. We know how important space is. I think we're going to have to really work on that. Can people just turn their all of your microphones off, because I'm getting a bit someone blowing their nose at the moment. If you wouldn't mind turning your microphone off, that'd be great. Okay, so and then we move back into the academics space right now. As of right now, a couple of slides that Sophia Fenichel at Study Hall has been showing, which I'm hoping she doesn't mind borrowing, because I just think they're so useful. One is around the current benchmarks with ChatGPT. Okay, in terms of what it's able to do right now. We're already seeing that ChatGPT can ace the uniform bar exam, can ace the LSATs. These are the US key stage gates for academic progress into law, into medicine, into the top professions. We're already seeing ChatGPT, not with all of them, still not good at some, but at many of those key benchmark exams, it's actually already in the 90th percentile plus. And this was a year ago, okay? If you ask the new Claude model to do this, it will probably be even higher, because in my opinion, Claude is even more advanced than ChatGPT 4. So if there's one thing that you take away from this, okay, one thing that's critically important when we are checking on the time, which is critically important when we're focusing on what we need to do as educators. Again, another brilliant graphic from Sophia at Study Hall. Is our job is to get students above that bot level, above the level of the chatbot. You don't want to be below that, because people are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs if they're graphic designers for computer game manufacturers, if they're working in a call center. These are things that AI is going to do more and more. We need to make sure that we're teaching and we're focusing our attention at the space above the line. What are the things that we do? What are the things that we can teach? The profoundly human things, which the chatbots will not be able to match us probably for a long time. Although if you do watch this this video from OpenAI earlier, you begin to think, well, maybe they're not far behind. But we need to make sure we're focusing on the human, the interpersonal, the things that make us different from the machines. That's the space that we need to be teaching into if we're going to ensure that our students remain relevant. So how are we going to move into this space where we are giving students access to AI, but it's not doing all the work for them? So there are three things that I think we should be focusing on. Okay, three areas that we should be focusing on as educators to make sure that we are really ensuring that this struggle is not being stolen. Okay, the first one is using AI in ways which just make us as educators more efficient. Okay, so we're not giving the work we're not pushing the work onto the AI, which is the creative work that the students will do to demonstrate their learning. We're doing things like schemes of work, lesson plans, assessment resources, policies, procedures, job descriptions, surveys, generating stuff that we can do ourselves, but actually AI can do it faster. And to be perfectly frank with you, it's getting better and better, and it's pretty well at the point now where if you prompt it right and you introduce the right information, it also does it better than us. Okay, so being more efficient with using AI. That's basically what I'm kind of calling level 1 or layer 1 AI. Okay, layer 2 AI is when we move into the data, the insights. How can AI unlock insights? How can it unlock more understanding and more knowledge from data? You know, survey data, student performance data, that kind of thing. So again, we can do this ourselves. AI can just do it so much faster. The third one, which is what I'm going to do some demos for you in a moment, so you can see what I mean. The first two are fairly obvious. Yeah, I could show you how to plan a lesson with ChatGPT, but perfectly frankly, it's pretty simple and not particularly interesting. You can do it now, but I'm not going to show you this. The data analysis as well, it's kind of fairly straightforward. Where I think it starts to get fun is when you can start using AI to do things that human beings can't do, that teachers cannot do. Okay, if you know about the SAMR model, Ruben Puntadera's kind of ed tech take-up model, from substitution through to, which is the S, through to redefinition, which is the R, it's in the redefinition zone. And actually, it's in the redefinition zone in the way that the iPad never was. And I'll show you what I mean in a moment. How can we use AI to really augment our creativity, to move learning on in some quite amazing ways? And then what I like to think conceptually is what's wrapped around all of this is AI literacy. How can we get our students to use AI in an informed way, okay, in a practical way that actually kind of really helps them, and also in an ethical way? They need to understand the notion of bias. They need to understand the notion of, you know, the deep fakes, and they need to understand about how they work. They need to understand how AI works, even at the most basic level, okay? Why is AI biased? Well, you work out why AI is biased when you understand how AI models are trained and how they deploy and how they generate an output. You're not going to know that unless you've got that basic understanding of AI literacy. That's teachers as well. Teachers need to know this stuff first before they teach the students. So I'm going to skip through this bit just in the interest of time. And I'm going to share this with Alicia so that you can have access to this as part with the recording. So if you can't scan this QR code now, don't worry. But I'm one of these kind of weird people who just gives loads of stuff away. I don't ask you to sign up to, you know, some mailing list or you know, whatever, join some newsletter. Just don't bother. Life's too short. So I just give my stuff away. So this is the prompts I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you a few ideas now. And a lot of this stuff, just in the last week or so, I've been posting onto LinkedIn. But I'm going to go to do some live demos as well. I'm also quite weird in that I don't always record stuff. I do it live, which can be really backfire on me. It has done sometimes because AI is weird. But I always say, if it works, brilliant. If it doesn't work, it's not my fault. It's kind of win-win, really. But the serious point here is that I kind of want to show you this in action. It's much more interesting if I genuinely show you this in action rather than do some pre-recorded stuff. So I'm probably not going to have time to show all of these. About 20 minutes, maybe I will actually, because I've been quite efficient with my time. 4 things I want to show you. Number 1, how can you teach grammar and parts of speech through text to image? Kind of a fun way. I'm an English teacher, so I wish I could have done this myself. How can you actually teach some kind of cool English grammar and writing techniques through text to image? Text to image is when you put in a text prompt and it generates a picture, in case you're not sure. The second one, how can we use an AI? I put ChatGPT. I might use Gemini. I'm just finding it better at the moment. I'm getting a little bit frustrated by ChatGPT. It's kind of annoying me right now. It's gaslighting me quite a lot, which is annoying. Yeah, I spend too much time talking to AI. My wife's like, I think you spend too much time talking to real people. So how can you have conversations inside of books using AI? How can you use AI to kind of create debates inside historical events? How can you create kind of walking tours, which is the latest kind of madcap idea I've just been sharing. Inside the human body or inside a moment in a novel Animal Farm, I'll show you. So kind of weird stuff. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to hop over to let's just stop sharing. There we go. There we are. And let me just get back out of here, and I'll share my screen again. And this time, I will show you this. There we go. So I am now going to actually use let me just move this out of the way so I can see my screen. There we go. So I'm actually going to use Bing Copilot for this, okay? Really simple, bing.com. That's it, bing.com, and just click on Copilot. It opens up Copilot. Okay, now I'm going to slightly struggle here because, yeah, I can't, oh, that's okay. Now then, imagine I'm the teacher, you're the pupils, you're the students, and I'm just going to start the lesson by saying, okay, I'm going to just put in this, create an image of a dog. That's it. Okay, and I'm going to say to students, okay, what sort of dog do you think the AI is going to create? And they might say, oh, I don't know, a Dalmatian, a Bulldog, a Retriever, a Labrador, or I don't know, because you're not going to know, because actually I've just said an image of a dog. And it also says, I'll try to create that. I'm thinking, you don't need to try, just create it. And then it's going to think about it. And now it's going to give me the image, hopefully any minute now. And we don't know what the image, no, oh, that's interesting. I've not had that one before. I'm not really sure what that is, some generic sort of terrier type dog. Okay, the reason I'm showing you this is because this is like page 1 of creative writing, okay? Page 1 of writing with intent. You have to put what's in your head outside of your head and into the other person. And if you said, I walked my dog, I've got no idea what that dog looks like. So what you can start to do is you can start to add details. So create an image of and we can add some adjectives in, parts of speech. So what you're essentially doing is you're taking a part of speech and you're visualizing the part of speech. And once again, now I'm using Bing Copilot because it's free. It's not bad. It's not the best one, but it's free and it's easy to use because it's platform based. I prefer Midjourney. I find it the better AI, but it's hopeless in a teaching setting because you've got to download Discord, invite the bot. I just don't even go there. So this is actually probably one of the best. I'll show you another one in a moment. There we are. So now what was in your head when I wrote a big black dog might actually be slightly closer to what you're seeing there. But then if I said let's say a bulldog eating a hot dog by a swimming pool, okay? So I've brought in a type of dog. I might even say a large bulldog, an adjective, a type of dog, prepositions, verbs. So I'm like fleshing out the whole thing with properly with parts of speech. You can then start to think, well, I kind of got this image in my head. Again, with no idea what AI is going to create, which is why I always say it could go really weird on us. But you've kind of got an image in your head of what this will look like. And then it's a visual representation of concrete writing. Just think of it like that. You're teaching children concrete writing through a visual representation of their writing. It's really motivating. Done this, there we are. That's not bad, actually. So there we are. That one's got some random hand. There we are. Oh, that's quite like that one. There we are. Let's just open that one up. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's quite smart. He's about to tuck into his hot dog. So you can see here what we've basically got is we've got the ability for the students to immediately see a visual representation of their writing. Okay, we can take it a stage further. Let's just take it a stage further because I'm just going to go across here to my prompt sheet, which is the one I've just shared with you. And now what you can do is you can say, great, we've started to look at how we can take a sentence. Let's now start to work on paragraphs. And I've given you a few ideas here. Now, there are lots available, and I put here, if you go into Study Hall, studyhall.ai/schools, there's loads of, there's a free prompt hub. If you're a school, you can just sign up with your school email address. And there are masses of these prompt ideas inside Study Hall, so you can just check them out. But here's a few, like creating a storybook character. Okay, so if we get the students to write a really lovely paragraph, I've got one here, create an image of a friendly creature with mossy bark-like skin instead of fur, so on and so forth. It's like a Gruffalo type character. If we introduce that to an AI like Firefly, so Adobe Firefly, which is firefly.adobe.com, we just introduce that prompt into Adobe Firefly, and then we just ask it to generate. And let's see what it gives us. And again, it's a really beautiful, concrete piece of student writing. That's what they've done. You know, they've really worked on concrete language, very visual language, and it gives us a reward. Okay, it gives us some really cool little images here. Look at that. How cool is that? I love Firefly. It's a great little AI. It's free. That is the reward for the students writing. Just think of it like that. It is teaching, and then if the image is like not quite what they were looking at wanting, they can then go back. Now, I'm going to give a quick kind of rider to all this. Obviously, most of these AIs are 13 plus with parental supervision. Okay, so you need to be careful. You need to make sure you have parental supervision. If you have under 13s, you really do need to be inputting the prompts with the student. Okay, so just be aware of that. It's a bit fussy and slightly annoying at the moment, but the terms and conditions are slightly awkward. So again, I'm not going to go into the depth. I just want to say, be mindful. If you're working with AI with under 13s, you do need to be kind of there and thereabouts with them so they can be working on and inputting the prompts, making sure that you're actually alongside them or even inputting the prompts for them. But you can see here, really cool little images. I love that one. So that's basically how we can start to create opportunities for really concrete writing and giving them that lovely reward. Okay, let's move on. The next one thing I want to show you is how you can have conversations inside of books. How can you actually create the opportunity within a novel or a play or a poetry or even a historical moment in history, or probably even scientific, you know, people from science? How can you have conversations? I'm going to give you one example here. So Michael Morpurgo's book, Private Peaceful. Imagine that the student does the work. This is important. This is why what I'm talking about, not stealing the struggle from students, okay? The student does the initial piece of work. The student writes a letter, imagining they're the character Tomo from Private Peaceful. And what we do is we actually put a prompt in to the AI first. And the prompt is, AI, you are Tomo's mother. You will read Tomo's letter and then you will respond. Okay, so it's really that simple. So what we'll do is we'll just put this in. Now I've got here, look, I've got an example of the student's work. Okay, so I've done one here where I've actually created the letter from the student. So we're going to put the prompt, the AI prompt, plus the letter, you're Tomo's mother, here's the letter, I want you to respond. And I'm actually going to use Google Gemini for this. I just think Google Gemini is just a great AI, such a great creative AI. There are two versions. I'm just using the free version. So I'm not going to, I've got the paid version, but for this example, I'm just going to use the free version. And I've literally just put it in there. Look, there's the prompt. You're Tomo, Tomo's mother. Tomo writes the letter, respond. And what it will do, it will respond as Tomo's mother. And the reason this works really well, it knows the book because it's read the book. It's been trained on the book. There we are. Dearest Tomo, my heart ached to read your words, my love. Brings tears to my eyes. Don't worry about the farm. Charlie's groaning. So it knows the characters. It knows the backstory because it's read the book. So it understands the book really well. But then, of course, what you can do is the student can respond to the letter. Okay. So the student can write the letter. AI responds as the mother, and then the student can respond. And you can have a bit of backwards and forwards going. The one that we did for Study Hall last year, which you'll find on the Study Hall website, is imagining, you know, the students read Alice in Wonderland and they write, imagine Alice is an Instagram influencer, and they write an Instagram post, imagining when they've gone down the rabbit hole, and then the AI is prompted in such a way that it responds as comments underneath Alice's post as the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, the Humpty Dumpty, whatever. So cool. And then, of course, Alice can respond. So cool. So you can actually create this initial piece of writing, which is the student's work. They've had to do the whole productive struggle to create the work, introduce it to the AI. AI responds backwards and forwards, deepens insight, interactive, it's fun. So again, going back to what I said before, annoyingly, there is this point where you do have to make sure that you are supervising students, that you're getting parental permission. I'm not going to go into this. This is really up to schools to work out for themselves, just showing you the opportunity that's available already for us. Okay, let's try a couple more. I'm quite good for time. Oh, just really quickly on that as well. I've got another prompt that I've shared below here. This is for A-level English, and this is from The Handmaid's Tale. And it's imagining that Offred, who is the main character in The Handmaid, writes a letter, tries to smuggle a letter out of Gilead, which is this dystopian autocratic world that Margaret Atwood writes about in The Handmaid's Tale. And then Aunt Lydia, who's one of the main kind of organizing dictator style, basically one of the supervisors who kind of governs this awful dystopian place, intercepts the letter and then responds. Again, student writes the letter from off-read, AI responds, you can go backwards and forwards. Let's go take things a bit further, go kind of crazy now. So this is a bit contentious, and I've had a bit of negativity coming back at me with this, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because I'm going to leave this up to you. I see this as a profoundly creative exercise. Okay, this is not necessarily to replace history, not at all, but as an adjunct to reading historical texts. I think it has huge potential. Okay, so what we can do, well, okay, we can have a conversation with Winston Churchill. Yeah, we can do that. We can have a conversation with Henry VIII. I suppose we can do that. I think it's much more interesting if we start to look at historical moments through different lenses, and we start to have debates with characters from history. So I'm going to give you an example here. Okay, imagine we are going to be debating with an academic who's really pro the printing press when it first comes out in the 15th century. Okay, so Gutenberg's printing press comes out 15th century, and there's an academic who's really for it. We can set up AI so that it has a debate with the student. Again, the student has to think. The student has to understand in order to be able to respond. Otherwise, it's going to get roasted by the AI. The student has to understand this period in history. So he's got to learn some stuff. But a great way to extend learning and extend understanding. So let me just go back into Google Gemini. I'll just start a new page. And basically what I've done is I put this prompt in. Okay, so let's just expand here. Okay, so you are going to begin a debate. You're a historical figure, and the historical figure is an academic with a passionate belief in the power of the Gutenberg press to democratize knowledge. You're then going to have a discussion, and the discussion will be about the printing press and its potential to liberate the masses from ignorance. You're going to begin, you're going to develop your argument, then you're going to hand over to the student, who's then going to respond. So there we go. So it's now going to be the topic, the opening salvo, Gutenberg. It's interestingly, the AI in this case has gone into Gutenberg. Sometimes you have to prompt more than once, but we'll keep going with this. So basically, okay, Gutenberg is saying the printing press is great. It's going to enlighten society. It's going to liberate us, so on and so forth. The student might say something along the lines of, but what if knowledge gets into the wrong hands? Of course, the student will develop the arguments much more, but you can see this counter argument. Okay, so now he's going to say, okay, you raise the spectre of misuse. There's a risk. Malicious ideas, once unleashed, can take root. Knowledge, even its flawed forms, empowers discernment. With the printing press, we open a forum for debate, the clash of ideas. Truth, like a sturdy oak, grows stronger with the winds of scrutiny. So you can start seeing quite creative. It's quite interesting, quite fun, backwards and forwards inside a moment in history with characters that maybe don't always get a voice. Interestingly, in this occasion, it's decided to go for Gutenberg, but you may want to prompt it again, and it almost certainly wouldn't come up with Gutenberg. But you can see here how there's real potential to do some quite fun things and some quite creative things within moments from history. The other one that I've got here, which I'm not going to show you because I want to show you one more different to this, but you can have a play with this, which I've literally just created. I just created this today, actually. I'm just playing with it. It was really great fun. Create a mock trial. So a mock trial where you have, let's say, for example, I don't know, Macbeth. Let's say you have a mock trial of Macbeth, and the AI will take one side, maybe the prosecution, and then the student has to take the defense, or the other way around. And you can actually have this kind of backwards and forwards debate about, you know, can the student justify whether the Macbeth had any reason to do what he did, and so on and so forth. So you can actually get in some quite interesting debates and discussions. And you could do this for so many things, not just literature, history, science. You could just do pretty well any subject, actually. Philosophy, you can do some really interesting stuff around the notion of the trial. A bit like hot seating in drama, actually, that kind of thing. But actually, we're interfacing with an artificial intelligence. Okay, the last one I want to show you, which is one I shared a few days ago on LinkedIn, which some of you might follow me, may have already had a play with. And I've had to revise the prompt because it suddenly stopped working. It's really annoying. It's just AI for you. You do have to honestly keep revising prompts because they keep changing the models in the background. That's why it happens. They tweak and they adapt the guardrails and the logic, etc., in the background, and they swap in and out literally neural networks, and they grow and they develop and they build and they change. They're always tinkering. Sometimes I wish they just leave them alone. This one, imagine, okay, so you know, walking guides, we have walking guides that will walk us around a city. Imagine actually having a walking guide taking you inside a moment from a novel or a moment from history or the human body, like the human mind, and actually being walked around this kind of event, this moment. It's really, really great fun. And the great thing about this, and I'll show you this now, is it really gives students agency because they can go in, they can enter this moment, and then they can be led around, but then they can say, well, can we go and do this? Can we go and do that? And the AI will just take them wherever they want to go. So I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you the human brain one, but the one I'm really enjoying, the English teacher in me loves this. Imagine the moments before, there we go. Imagine the moments before the animals kick Farmer Jones out of Manor Farm in the novel Animal Farm. George Orwell's novel Animal Farm. It's one of the staples. Most people know it, either read it or if you're an English teacher, you almost certainly taught it. It's like a rite of passage. You will teach Animal Farm. But imagine pausing that moment in the farm before the animals kick Farmer Jones out. Okay, you pause that moment, and then the student enters that moment, okay, with AI. So I'm going to use Claude. Okay, so I'm going to Claude.ai for this. Claude.ai, it's probably for me, along with Google Gemini Advanced, the best of the bunch now. I actually use it more than I use ChatGPT now. But I'm just going to put that prompt that I've just shown you into Google Gemini. That's into tour guide, leading students on a thrilling choose your own adventure journey through Orwell's Animal Farm right before the rebellion. Okay, sets the scene. I'm hoping you can see me okay now. You may have found, because I've realized my internet connection's a little bit unstable right now, so I'm hoping you can still hear me. Student's choice, character conversations, so on and so on and so on. Okay, so it's a really quite long and quite complicated prompt. Okay, thematic guidance. All the way through, I'm saying you must pause, you must pause, you must pause. Okay, let's set this up and see where it takes us. So we're going to go into Animal Farm at the moment before the rebellion. There we go. Welcome to Manor Farm, a place where the ground seems to tremble with whispers of change. We pass the barn, you might catch the disgruntled snorts of pigs. Now it's time for you to choose where to begin. Will you? There we go. Will you go into the barn, the fields, the stables? Let's choose the farmhouse. And so you can see here the student has the ability to move around within the scene. Approach the farmhouse, the air seems to change. You peek through a window, catch a glimpse of Jones himself. Suddenly you hear soft behind you. He's always like that, you know, drinking and sleeping while we work ourselves to the bone. You turn to see Clover, one of the farm's horses. This blows my mind because I didn't ask for the AI to bring Clover into the scene at this point, but all of a sudden it's decided that I need to have a conversation with Clover at this point. Can you see the potential here for awesome, enormous creativity? Just extraordinary creativity, because actually what we have is we have the ability for the student to decide how they work through a moment from a novel, a moment from history, and so on and so forth. Really, really exciting. And as I said, we're only just beginning. So I'm just going to take one more minute and then I'm going to pass back over, and if there's any questions, then I'll be delighted to take them. So let me just pop me back to my presentation, because I just want to share my final slide here. In terms of the models that I use, okay, so just so you know, I'm actually, as I said, I'm actually using ChatGPT less and less. This QR code is just the prompt again, in case you didn't catch it the first time. I'm using Gemini and Claude mainly. Those are the main two models that I use. Okay, so I tend to use Claude probably 60% of the time, Gemini probably 30% of the time, ChatGPT maybe only 10% of the time now. Pi, don't use very often, but it's like mad professor. If you want to just have a really interesting conversation on anything, Pi is definitely worth you looking at. So there's my contact details. As I said, I'll share this presentation with Alicia so she can send it out to you all. So don't worry if you don't get this, but there's my contact card. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn, I write obsessively about AI pretty well every day. As I said, I'm a weird person. I give everything away. But if you want to follow me, if you want to send me a message, if you want to send me an email, WhatsApp, always delighted to connect with people. And because we're all learning together and it's a crazy world we're in, so we may as well all be doing it together. So with that in mind, I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pass back over to Ollie and Alicia. And then if there are any questions, I will happily take them.